What's up, gamers? I hope you all had a great Christmas and hopefully you'll have a great New Year too. Today I'd like to talk about the state of Battlefield 2042, how it released, how it is now, and of course what it will hopefully become in the future. This is going to be mostly unscripted, it's just my raw thoughts that I'm putting down in the video for you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments as always. Now let's get into it. So first we have the release. Now this, you can't deny, was an absolute disaster. Why they did not delay it more, why they weren't more ready, the mind boggles really. I mean, to have it releasing in that state, the developers must have known that this was not going to go very well. What reasons for this? I'm guessing it's a mixture of pressure from the publisher, EA, and just other constraints. The reason why it's in this state, I think, you've seen it with some other games recently. The pressures of having to work from home for the developers, the time pressures, I think it all just adds up to make a perfect storm for a thing like this to happen. And it is just such a shame because we were all looking forward to Battlefield 2042. It was going to be the saviour of the series and all that. But turns out it's just really alienated a bunch of the player base. Especially, it seems, those that play on PC. As from what I'm hearing from some of my friends that play on PC, the game on PC is pretty much unplayable if you don't have specific settings done right, or maybe, you know, your PC specs aren't quite up to scratch. It just becomes unplayable. Luckily for me, I'm on PlayStation 5 and we haven't really had any of these problems, so I guess the PC master race isn't quite so godly after all. But anyway, I like to always try and be as positive as possible about these things, unlike a lot of creators out there who seem to have their whole channel focused on the negatives all the time. So I try and steer clear of that as much as possible. So obviously we did have that disastrous release and there's no getting around that. But on the positive side, they have really been on the ball with getting updates out to get things fixed, getting communication to the players to make sure they know what's being worked on, and, you know, hang tight, we're fixing it. They rung that message loud and clear, so I give them full points for that. Let's hope it continues though, and on another note, which we'll talk about in a bit, let's hope they keep bringing that new content into the game, because otherwise it is going to get a bit stale pretty quickly. And speaking of things getting fixed pretty quickly, let's hope they put some of these features into the game that, quite honestly, should have always been in from the very start. The voice over IP, as in the in-game party chat, the scoreboard, why these things aren't in the game is just baffling to me. And I think it's got something to do with this anti-toxicity thing. Again, I believe this is another one of those, the publisher dictating down to the developer what they must do. And I don't agree with that at all. I think you're not going to remove toxicity by taking voice over IP out of the game. You're just going to make the game less fun. And the same with the scoreboard. What's wrong with having a scoreboard? Oh, what are people going to... You know, I've never had one instance in a game in my life where, because of looking at a scoreboard, I've just felt really bad, or I've had people taking the mick out of me because of my score or something like that. That just doesn't happen. And as far as the voice over IP goes, you're always going to get people talking trash on the microphone, but there's a mute button for a reason, so you can just use that. Why don't they just make the mute button easier? Like, hear something you don't like, you can just press a button and whoever's talking at that point is gone. They could do something like that. Let's hope they get that fixed soon. Moving on now to stuff that I like about the game. Controversial take here, I really like the 128 players. A lot of people, it's not for them, especially some of the bigger YouTubers. They're getting a bit salty, I think, because they can't get the kill streaks on the larger kill modes, but I quite like that. I find that you're more hidden amongst the mass of players, so it's a bit easier to get your kill streaks, I find, anyway. Now, flanking is harder, obviously, but they can fix that with some future maps, you know, design them a bit better than the current ones. Not so many open spaces, please, DICE. What else do I like? Really like the weapons, the gunplay, the movement, like all that. The vehicles are really well balanced, I think. Obviously there's a few outliers, that, like the Bolt, for example. They should just take off the 30mm cannon from that. I think those vehicles really should only be able to have like either a specific anti-tank weapon that doesn't really hurt infantry very much, or the minigun. That's those small transport vehicles. I think that would solve that problem. And even more controversial hot take, I also like the specialists as well. A lot of the Battlefield fan base are really not keen on this quote-unquote hero shooter business, but for me, I don't really see it as any different than having the medic man, the assault man. You know, you'd always get one of them that's just being spammed by players, depending on which one's, you know, popular at the time. So what's the difference between having 4 specialists and having 10? That's the way I look at it. Yeah, they've got a gadget, but at the end of the day, they're not really that different. I've not had people not putting down medic crates, not putting down ammo boxes and stuff like that. I've been getting revived plenty, so I really don't see the issue with it. I think it's just people finding a reason to have a moan on social media, which isn't anything new really, is it? So yeah, in case you can't tell, I'm actually quite enjoying Battlefield 2042. However, they could make it better still. I mean, they need to add the voice chat, they need to add a scoreboard so that you can actually kind of see where your stats are at. Like, I really don't understand the not having that in there. Then obviously content-wise, they definitely need more weapons, they're going to need more maps. They kind of need to flesh out the portal a bit more, I feel, you know, add more content to that basically. Hazard Zone needs a bit of tweaking, but it's mostly fun, but there's a lot of kind of dead air, if you know what I mean, whilst you're moving around. There needs to be like things going on, I think. Like, you know, maybe some AI controlled like jets fighting it out in the sky. Just something to keep the energy level up while you're playing would be great. If they could put that in, of course. And then obviously when Season 1 drops, whenever that is, hopefully it's soon, they need to add in some more little side mission objectives maybe to that. Obviously more maps, more specialists, definitely more guns, as I've said before. We also sorely need more game modes in all-out war mode. Having Conquest and Breakthrough only just isn't going to cut it in the long run. We need Team Deathmatch, we need Domination, some kind of diffuse obliteration mode, something like that in there. Maybe even Capture the Flag, but just put those in there and that will be a lovely base for people to keep them interested and stop the game from getting stale. So that's my thoughts on the game at the moment. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Smash that thumbs up button and subscribe as well. I've got an MP9 guide coming at the weekend, so check that out if you haven't already. And I've also got my other weapons guides. I'll link one of those at the end of this video. I'm Fun Guy, and I'll see you in the next one.